It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. Talking about Age of Sigmar and everything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home day light. Hey!
Well, that was a delight. That sounds an awful lot like a new microphone, Mr. Remington.
Oh, you betcha. How nice is that, right?
That is very professional. That is maybe the highest quality intro song we've ever had because of that new microphone.
You know, it's a sign of things to come. We're just getting more and more pro.
We're on the cutting edge. So, folks, welcome. The Andy and Rem Show, your one-stop shop for all things Age of Sigmar. And after a packed week last week, it was looking a little bit slow until the last 24 hours when a few things dropped. So we have got a few juicy topics, some of which are very relevant to Mr. Remington, who is going to have his hands full, I think, with all the releases coming out for the armies that he currently owns. Not necessarily new models, but new books he's going to have to be buying by the dozen. So let's have a look and see who we've got in the audience before we sink our fangs into all this, shall we? Let's have a look at the fabled active users list. Here we go. We've got Bazooka J. Rambo, Demon Lizard from Outer Space. Interesting. Drunken Deer, Gloomdready Gaming, Graham Rigg, I Don't Know 46, Lee Cunningham, Mickey Genver, Mini Warrior, Rob Lloyd, sweet, Ronnie Dodd, Ruhark, Slackdorf, The Soul Assassin, The Stronghold, Newbie, and Was Gob. And there's Retropia TV as well. It's quite packed already tonight. The chat was flourishing in the hour or so leading up to the show. And of course, we were preparing for the show for the last hour or so. You certainly didn't dive in here with 1 minute to spare, Mr. Remington.
Never. I prepare for minutes before each show.
It's a very professional setup we've got here. So, shall we go fangs first into this then?
Yeah, I mean, I can see Ogre Stronghold is in the chat, and this is brilliant because he's the master of all things Ogre, and we have the Beastclaw release imminent.
We do. But before we get to that, let's have a look at the old GW website first of all, shall we? And see what's new and juicy. So the start collecting sets, which we already knew about, but we've got our full look at the Shattered Dominion scenery set and the bases as well. So let's have a look at this scenery set first for only £415. So if you're a gamer on a budget and you want to put a gaming table together, this is certainly for you. So you'll get the 6 of those boards and you'll get one of each of those terrain pieces as well, including this monstrosity.
Wow, I never noticed that cauldron on top of it. That's sacrificial. Yeah,
look at that.
Nice.
So for all that, for £415, now I'm not sure if there's any saving involved in that. I'm going to assume there isn't, because it's not start collecting Shattered Dominion scenery set.
No, we're looking at £200 just for the board. So all that scenery is, well, £215 worth, I suppose.
Indeed. So let's just have a look at the board itself, shall we?
Yeah.
Realm of Battle, Shattered Dominion. Let's have some close-ups. So first of all, you can see all 6 pieces together there. I believe there are 4 different ones, as you can see. The one at the top in the middle there is the same as this one here, and the 2 top corners are the same as well.
Yeah.
So
They're doing this at my local store. They're doing this for 160. So I've got to admit, I'm tempted.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more reasonable. Of course, you then got to have all the materials to actually paint it as well,
yes.
Since this is how it comes. Naked plastic.
That looks like a big job, really. But is it all flat? Is there any like?
Well, it's flat-ish, isn't it? If you look, there are indentations and little craters. But you would imagine that someone could stand over the top of all the smaller craters, and then this area here would be the difficult one, I think, for standing in. It doesn't dip down that far, though. It's not ridiculous. It looks a lot more flat than the previous Realm of Battle board with those hills side down.
Yeah.
So I think this is quite a magnificent piece of engineering here. And of course, you can get the full set. I don't know whether that's 6 pieces in there. Probably is.
Now, I've got to ask you, Andy, how many battle mats can you get for this?
Well, battle mats, depending where you go, you can be looking at anywhere up to, depending the material you go with, you're going to be looking between like 20 and 40 pounds ish.
Yeah, I'd see them for more like £50 myself.
Yeah, some of them 50, some of the really high quality ones, some of the cheaper ones down around 20.
Yeah. So let's just be conservative. You could probably get 4 battle mats, couldn't you? 4 good quality battle mats for this, I guess. So, I don't know. I still like the thought of something real, plastic, you know?
You like something tangible you can get your hands around.
Yeah, I do. But, you know, some of the battle mats that come out now, they're brilliant. There's this swampy looking one that I love the look of. I'll try and find that in a bit and show you.
Yeah, and as you know, the battle reports on this channel feature battle mats heavily. And I should probably put links to the various battle mat manufacturers in the description of this show. Maybe I'll do that afterwards if I remember. But a couple of people commenting on this already.
All right.
Mini Warrior, just get a battle mat. Well, he's not a fan of the Realm of Battle board. James McPherson finally caved in this week and bought all the AOS scenery.
Wow.
That's some commitment to the cause right there.
Wow. Retropia TV is saying, I would like to see a multi-level AOS board. It's like the one we saw for the Silver Tower at Warhammer World, which was pretty spectacular, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would be amazing, actually. Some of the Warhammer World displays, something like those, multi-leveled, that could be a lot of fun. It would be difficult to make, I think. It might be just easier to just build your own out of existing terrain. You could have one of these on the bottom and then build your own like floating islands if they're not going to release any. Because you would imagine something big that's not flat, like a floating island, would be a lot more difficult for them to make than something nice and flat like this that they can just crank out of the machine.
You know, back in the day, there was an old white dwarf, and it had this a campaign in it. What's it called? God, my mind goes blank when I do this show. No, a role-playing. Had a role-playing scenario called the Floating Gardens of Babylon. And I'd love to bring that back with a board. It's all about pygmies.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
I never saw that one coming. They've also got these terrain paint sets as well. So let's have a look. Let's analyze this a little bit and see if we can get to the bottom of whether these are good value or not. So let's see exactly what you get. You get 12mm pots of paint and a 250mm pot of the dryad bark for this particular one. So 250mm, that's a lot more than you get in one of these. And you're paying more, but you're not paying that much more when you compare it to the size difference between a 12mm pot and a 250mm pot. So it actually looks pretty good value. I'm not sure whether the paint is exactly the same quality or not. It does say it's specially formulated, hard-wearing paint.
How much is that on its own, the big one?
I'm not sure if you can get it on its own.
Ah.
Can you?
I'm sure you can.
Let's have a look. Let's go into the painting and modelling section.
Let's do that.
See how much they are on their own, shall we? Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. Are they available on their own?
Oh.
I can't see them.
Well,
Doesn't seem like it. Maybe there will be at some point.
yeah.
But you get quite a lot of paint in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cursed wastes.
I would be interested to see what people, the professional people who actually paint up terrain a lot, if they get their hands on this and compare it to existing products. Because normally when GW puts out something like this, it's like a slightly inferior version of something that's already on the market and they charge a lot more for it.
Right.
So I'd be interested to see whether this is actually a magnificent product, because some of their other paints I will really stand behind. Like, some of their technical paints are really, really good and maybe better than what else is out there. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. I'm not going to buy it because I don't have a big piece of terrain to paint like this, but I will keep an eye on what the pros think of this product.
Yeah, talking of technical paints, I've been using the gloss, non-oil gloss and Agrax Earthshade gloss, and they've been really good.
I've actually heard that they are
really good.
way better than the other washes, and that they're what you would expect from a wash. They sink really well into the crevices. Is that true?
Yeah, and they're slightly shiny as well, so it becomes more pronounced. So yeah, it's great on weapons, belts, armor, stuff like that. Yep.
They've got the REM stamp of approval then.
Yep, defo. And while you're on that page,
Yes, let's have a look at these bad boys, shall we?
Now, you know, when I first saw these, I thought, yeah, that's a definite buy. And then I looked at all my armies, and it was like, oh god, I'll have to rebase stuff again, because I've kind of started all the armies that I have already. So the only one I haven't fully based is goblins. I don't know whether they'd really work on these.
It would look quite funny, I think. But yeah, we were wondering how they were going to pack them, which sizes would come together. And you're going to get the 40 and 65 mil round bases in a pack here.
Yeah, and
so
you get a lot. You get quite a lot, don't you, for 20 quid?
You do for 20. How many does you get here? Let's see what it says. 20 40 mil and 6 65 mil.
Right. So 26. So they're less than £1 each, which is brilliant, because if you go to some of the other companies, scenic bases can be extortionate.
They can. I've bought a few resin ones in the past. I think they were probably square back when I bought them. Square bases were all the rage back then. But yeah, the resin bases are not cheap. So the fact that they've produced large amounts of these things for a pretty reasonable price. Some of the others look even better value, actually.
I think the 25 to 32 millimeter ones, they're going to sell like hotcakes.
Well, let's have a look, shall we?
Yeah.
Because for £20, how many would you reckon that you're going to get in there?
I actually know the answer.
Never mind then. Okay, 40 25 mil and 30 32 mil.
Oh, that's phenomenal. 70 bases.
70 bases for £20. That is pretty damn good value, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And those are the most usable sizes as well.
Yeah. Would you put, dwarves, Dwarden, would you put them on 25s or 32s?
I would probably put them on 25s. But I have known people to put them on 32s as well.
Yeah. I mean, 25s, they're very small, mate. I'm looking at a goblin, and I've got one goblin fanatic here on a 25, and it kind of fits nicely. But a dwarf, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it depends on the dwarf, because they are a bit more stout than they used to be.
Yeah.
Well, my dwarves are all based on square anyway, so I haven't got that dilemma at the moment. But yeah, this is definitely a very good value set. Then you've got the large base detail kits. This is the one I would wonder how good value it is until I see this image of how many pieces you get in there, and that's actually quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one myself.
It's a decent amount of bits, but it doesn't seem as good value as the others.
I mean, it could be quite therapeutic, couldn't it? Just trying to do a jigsaw out of it, try and see if they fit together.
And I'm sure the more unscrupulous people out there will be grabbing this stuff and then immediately cracking out their instant mold and making more of them for personal use only, of course. I'm sure nobody would dare to create copies and then try and make money off it. Yeah, pretty sweet. And then the 60 and 90 mil oval bases, so for your cavalry and your big like Korgoroth monsters and so on. So you get 6 90 by 53, and 20 60 by 35. So it's quite a lot.
So 20 cavalry things. That's kind of cool.
Yes, if you say it's £1 each for the cavalry bases, you're getting 6 of the big monster bases for your kind of monstrous cavalry.
Now, do you think the vibe of these bases goes with every army?
Short answer, no.
A lot of it's the paint job, isn't it? Because you can give it a lava effect for chaos stuff, can't you? And the one they've got there looks kind of order, doesn't it? Like High Elf or Sigmar.
Yeah, I'm not sure it actually goes at all with that guy that's riding on it.
Yeah, I mean, because the skulls, that covers death. But I don't know if they look great for destruction. But maybe I just haven't seen the right paint job for them yet.
Yeah, with destruction, you want something a little bit more. I was going to say destroyed, but it is kind of destroyed. You want something a little more unruly, not so nice and magnificent looking, don't you?
Yeah.
So maybe they'll come out with more. If they do another Realm of Battle board that's a little bit more, dare I say, destruction-centric, then maybe they'll have sets of bases to go with that as well. If these sell like hotcakes, I'm sure it's something they'll continue to pursue. But they are very nice. They'd be perfect for your Stormcast Eternals, wouldn't they? All these.
Yeah, they're good for Seraphon.
Anything that's magnificent looking. Anything that's a bit more down to earth and gritty, maybe not. But then that's the way the game's going now. All the stuff that's down to earth and gritty are the old stuff, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
So there's one large, juicy topic. Shall we click over to the next? Bum, bum, bum. Now, we'll just let people digest that for a second while I have a look at the old comments and see what people make of these bases. Newbie agrees that you could put all the pieces of that base together to make a jigsaw. Slack Dwarf, all my Empire State troops on 32 mil. Yeah, Bazooka J Rambo says 32 mil for dwarves as well. Yeah, quite a few people there saying 32. I think I have based some dwarves on rounds. They're the really old plastic dwarf warriors, and I did them on 25s. But maybe because they're smaller, the new dwarves are a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, as you know, I've got a whole army of Marauder dwarves. They're all on squares, but I've got quite a few of the newer stuff. So maybe I should, maybe they could be going on the rounds now if I get a pack of these.
Right, shall we dive into this? Because you, being an ogre lover, would be very pleased with this. Beastclaw Raiders Destruction Battle Tome. Now, we weren't entirely sure what was going to be part of this, but we've now got it confirmed that it's not just ogres. It seems to be pretty much the ogres that are related in some way to beasts. I'm not sure whether it's going to contain rules for just your regular ogre infantry or not. I haven't had any.
I can see there being, another ogre army book coming out at some point, and that's more like mercenary ogres. That's where you've got like the Goldfang and you've got the man-eaters. But these guys are more like the cavemen, Tibetan kind of mountain yetis and stuff.
What you could see the ogres being completely redone, and then the existing ogre models just slot in there the same way that the Black Orcs have slotted into the Iron Jaws.
Yeah. But is it going to be... I mean, these are great, aren't they? Especially, I mean, I bought the Thunder Tusk back in the day, and it was a coin cost which one I'd make. I ended up making the Thunder Tusk, which is wicked, and it's brilliant in the game as well. But the Stonehall don't half look good as well. That's the and that's the only ogre model I don't have.
Moving on, of course, the legendary Mournfang, which were the bane of many existences in 8th edition, and they're still pretty tasty now, aren't they?
Yeah, I would hope these guys are more powerful than the Orruk Boar Riders. Can't remember what they're called. The bigger ones, the Iron Jaw ones.
Yeah, you only have 2 Mournfang, don't you?
I have 2 Mournfang, yeah, but they're repackaging this as a 4, which is pretty cool. With the 2 I've got, I gave them the 2-handed spear poleaxe weapon, and they're modelled really nice because one of them's holding it to his left and the other guy's holding it to its right. So it's kind of like Lennon and McCartney style, One's a left-hander, one's a right-hander. So there's nice symmetry in their models. But then, of course, you don't have a standard or a musician because you only get 2. So, but with this, you can have a little proper unit, can't you?
You certainly can. And then this image popped up today as well. Wow. So this is the Icewind Assault pack.
Yeah. Now, the only model I don't like so much is that Ogre Hunter. I think it's a very old model, and I would have liked to have seen a new one. I've got my own converted one, of course. But how much we're talking for these guys?
Well, the Icewind Assault is $215. So
I've
what's that going to be, like £150 or something?
I shall look at my currency exchange. 200 and how many dollars?
215.
215 is 164 pounds. Just rounding.
Well, how much are these monsters then on their own?
Well, when they first come out, they were like 36 pounds.
So they're probably around the same now.
So 36 plus another 36 for the other one. That's 72. The Yetis were 30 quid. Yeah, so that's
right. So we're up to about 100-ish.
Yeah.
And the Mornfang, did they come in packs of 2?
Yeah, they did.
And how much was a pack of 2? About 25.
Yeah, about that.
Right, so we'll call that another 50.
Yeah.
And you're getting this guy and all these little saber tusks as well.
Yeah, well, he only used to get 2. 2 of those saber tooth tiger things, but 4 is definitely the way to go, isn't it? They always get killed when you got 2.
Yeah, so it looks like there is a bit of a saving in this box. The Stronghold says it's going to be £135 for UK.
Oh,
right. Because I'd only seen it in American and Canadian dollars, the price. But if that is the price, then there's definitely some savings to be had here.
Definitely. If you take 20% off, if you're going to alternative shops, you know, that's another 30 quid off there. So it's more like £105 for that lot.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty sweet deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you didn't already have some ogres.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Yetis were kind of getting phased out because I think I'm one of the few people who's got a bunch of. I've got 6 of them. 3 I ain't painted yet.
Yeah, how do you feel about the Yetis getting some love now?
Yeah, I always liked them. I'm hoping they're going to get some different rules. I'm sure they're going to nerf the Thunder Tusk a bit because it's deadly, isn't it? It's kind of you kind of feel a bit bad when it does 6 auto mortal wounds.
Yeah, when it hasn't been wounded, just here's a unit nearby. Why don't you just have 6 mortal wounds on a 2+? Yeah, anything that you barely have to roll for that, really, do you?
No. And then yeah, well, you've got to wound it, haven't you, to make it to diminish it. But that's a tough one. But the Stonehorn rules are pretty cool as well. It's almost
Stonehorn's an absolute beast as well.
I think it's
so if the rules stay exactly the same, but here's the question, and we can actually look at this now because I believe we're both in possession of the General's personal handbook. I think Mr. Remington's got the...
no, wrong one.
Oh no, he's also got the bone splitters as well.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a bit. But look, mine's all shiny because I've not even opened it yet.
Should we do a live unwrapping?
Yeah, let's. I mean, this baby, I got this for 12 quid. That's brilliant. It's pretty thick as well. All right, live unwrapping with Remington.
Here we go. I'll commentate. Right, let's get the camera on Remington. Lift it up so we can see the unwrapping on evidence that you're actually unwrapping it. Here we go.
Good sniff.
The fresh book and torn plastic smell. He's going for the top there. Oh, no, he can't do it with hands alone. He's gone for the knife. This could be disastrous. Oh, there we go. Oh, is he going to cause damage cutting it that way? We'll see.
No.
Time will tell.
No damage. This looks splendid, actually. It's got a big image of Korga's Kull on the front. And annoyingly, there's a really nice depiction of him. And his face is basically a helmet. And I painted my model, the helmet, as the face.
Oh dear.
I painted it all skin colour, so that's probably why that looks a bit strange. But...
Well, I would recommend that Mr. Rem pick up his microphone again so we can hear him properly. And we can pick up the live sniff of the new book. Yes, we can.
That smells actually great.
Maybe that's what Darth Vader was doing that whole time, just sniffing a new book, freshly unwrapped.
Wow, it's brilliant. It's really thick. There's loads of pictures in it, but there's loads of writing. Now, wow, it's got storylines in it, and there's the death of Nagash here, and there's lots of battle plans.
Well, here's what I'm looking for. I'm going to go straight to the ogres and see how many points those monsters are.
Oh, yes.
Because, yes, they're kind of towards the back, the old points. And here we go. There's death and various elves and the Stormcast. And come on, here we are. There's the Oryx. We're in the right area now, I'd say. There's the Savage Orcs. Right, here we go. So, the Stonehorn and the Thunder Tusk. Which one would you say is better?
What page number are you on, Paul?
Page 137 of the General's Handbook.
Oh, wow.
Totally different from the Genitals Handbook.
Absolute bargain at £12. I mean, I think it's £15, isn't it? Normally, I got it a bit cheaper. But even so, what we're looking at here?
We're looking at the Beastclaw Raiders. So the Stonehorn rocks in at 360 points.
Yep.
And the Thunder Tusk at 320 points.
Wow. So the Thunder Tusk is cheaper. I've got to check that rule. See if it's changed. The Hunter's 160 points. I think it's too much. They're not that good, are they? Hunters. Just more of a novelty. But maybe you get a couple of free saber tusk with them.
He is a leader as well. And as far as I can see, he is the only leader on here that isn't also a behemoth, or a behemoth, if you prefer to pronounce it that way.
It's also giving you choices for a Frost Lord on a Stonehorn and a Frost Lord on a Thunder Tusk. So we have to check out what that Frost Lord means.
Yes.
And they also have a thing called a Huskard. A Huskard on a Stonehorn or a Huskard on a Thunder Tusk.
There's a few different options there.
They're slightly cheaper, so they must be kind of heroes instead of leaders.
What do you think of the Yetis?
Let's have a look. Are they still called Yetis? Yes, Icefall Yetis, 120 points for 3. Yeah, that's okay, I suppose.
Is that reasonable?
Yeah, I would have given Yetis regeneration myself. Well, that'd be pretty cool if they had that, but they don't. They have sort of movement abilities, don't they? They have, they basically ignore impassable terrain, which could be kind of cool, I suppose.
They did a good job in that last battle that they were in, didn't they, against me?
They did a great job. They're good little holding the line for a couple of rounds, for sure.
Yeah, they were pretty tasty.
Yeah, so I mean, look at 1,000 points. You're not looking at many models, really, are you?
You are not.
That's kind of fair enough, aren't it? They're all multi-wound thingies.
So if you turn over to the next page, you'll see at the bottom of the next page you have all the other ogres, which are down here as gut busters. So they're not going to be part of the Beastclaw Raiders battle tome.
Right.
And you would imagine that later on there'll either be a Gutbusters battle tome or rebranded ogres with some of the Gutbusters units surviving in there in the same way the Black Orcs did. Yeah,
so your Gutbusters they're the kind of ogres without any kind of cool stuff, really, aren't they? They've got the Iron Blaster, the Butcher, so they've got a bit of magic in there. They've got some shooty guys with the lead belchers and the Iron Blaster, and they also have the Gorgers. And they have grots.
I'm interested to know how you're going to cope with all your armies getting updates. Where's your attention supposed to be at the moment?
Well, I wanted to finish off the Chaos stuff, which I've kind of nearly done. I'm kind of trying to speed paint through these Blood Reavers, but I'm just finding it impossible to do because I can't abide, figures that aren't at least well painted. So I've got I've nearly done another 5 of them, guys. So I've got 10 Blood Reavers, and I've got this Blood Warrior standardy guy. You know this one?
Yes.
Can't remember what it's called. And then I've got a fairly decent force there. But I wanted to let you know about this base I've done for this for Korg's Cult. I found a pesto sauce bottle top. Not bottle. What do you call them? You get pesto sauce and it's in a...
I have no idea.
Yeah, you do. It's like a jar. Yeah, it's a jar. It's a jar top. I sprayed it black and it's actually perfect size.
I thought you were going to say you actually used pesto sauce as a basing material.
No, but it could be kind of good for Nurgle's Rot, couldn't it, that?
Most of your bases, after a few years, Nurgle's Rot kind of sets in, doesn't it? Since you seem to like using organic material on them.
It worked great for me wood elves, but now they look, it looks like dead wood, put it that way. But yeah, this looks, do you know what? I wasn't going to buy this General's Handbook because I don't, I just like to play the game and let you tell me the rules. But having seen it, it's really fruity, man. It looks really cool. It's already I can see that it's pretty essential to have. There's lots of fluff in here as well, which I always love. So
but the most important thing in there is definitely the points, and not only the points, but also the extra abilities that you get for having a particular faction allegiance.
And not just that, Andy. What I'm seeing here is the return of magic items.
Yes, of course, you have the various artifacts for each of the Grand Alliances, which are very interesting. I think each one has 6.
Right. Well, I'll if you head on over to the Ogres one, I'll have a look at the Savage Orcs one. See if they have anything cool.
Well, and the artifacts of destruction, which of course would be common between those two.
Oh, is that right? So
which is on page 163.
Yeah. Well, I'm on page 137. I've got the ogre ones anyway.
Let's have a look what you're looking at there, shall we?
The Bragoths. I've got Bragoth's Beast Hammer here. It's 160 points.
Well, that is a War Scroll battalion.
Oh, all right. There you go. That's why I should let you do the talking.
Remington is on the ball, as always, with his finger on the pulse.
See, 163.
Yep, you've got the destruction artifacts there. So these are the ones you're going to be able to choose from for your orcs and your ogres and put on any of your heroes.
Okay, got it. Does it have points values for these as well?
Well, that is interesting, actually, because it doesn't seem to say right here.
It says here, any destruction hero from a destruction army can be given one of the following magic artifacts. So that implies it's free. And you have to roll a d6. Well, you don't have to, but it says d6. Number 1 is the Meteoric Hammer Blade. It's molded from a massive lump of compressed meteoric iron. The unit model belongs to so forth. Okay, so just extra mortal wounds for that one.
Yeah, there's just extra spicy stuff, like one in the order abilities. One of them gives you an extra wound, I think. And there's various things that will be giving you re-rolls of things, boosting your abilities. But there's also the battle traits as well for each Grand Alliance.
Yeah.
For example, the Order one. If you take an Order army, then you gain Defiant Avengers, which means you can re-roll battle shock tests for friendly Order units within 12 inches of your general, or another hero, which makes them very, very sturdy.
I'm looking at this. Collar of Domination.
I bet you are looking at that one.
This studded collar. Can you hear me?
Yep.
This collar that's studded is inscribed with ancient glyphs, and it has the power to subdue the fiercest monstrous creatures. So right now I'm thinking of just like fighting a big demon, one of them massive ones. The start of the movement phase, pick an enemy monster within 3 inch, then roll 2 dice. If it's equal or greater than the monster's bravery, it must make a retreat move in the movement phase. See, I'm just thinking I could synergize that with my Savage Orc Arab boys. So they could have a round at pelting the monster, get close to him, activate the Collar of Domination, and then I'll get almost another round of shooting, so I don't have to fight it.
You've got a 1 in 6 chance of getting it, haven't you?
Well, monsters' braveries are usually really high. That's the only problem, isn't it?
Yeah, because we often question why monsters had a bravery that was that high.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're not going to be suffering from battle shock. But when things like this pop up, then of course you can see why now. And we suggested at the time that there would be maybe other spells and abilities that would come in later that would challenge people's bravery. So that all makes sense. But it makes your army a little bit different each time. You can't predict which one you're going to get, so you need to have a different approach depending what you get, and depending which hero it's on, of course. I don't know whether you can only have it on one hero per game, or whether you can apply it to multiple heroes or not.
Yeah.
But I think you could just make an agreement with your opponent regarding how many of your heroes are allowed it. And maybe that's why it doesn't have points. Maybe you just decide between each other, okay, one hero per side will have the artifact in this game, and then it's even, isn't it?
Yep. What I'm thinking here, Andy, is looking at all the profiles for all the different factions here. Does this now basically mean they're not going to release any new models or any new characters because they're all already down here in black and white?
Well, anything that comes out now, I imagine, will have its point value in its battle tome from this point on.
Yes.
Either that or they'll release the General's Handbook 2. This time it's handier.
For example, I'm looking at Order. I'm looking at the Devoted of Sigmar. And all you can have there is a Witch Hunter, a Warrior Priest, a War Altar, and Flagellants. And that's kind of it.
Well, often you will be sticking some of these together, won't you? Like, for example, you wouldn't take the group that's nothing but war machines and engineers as a full army. Well, you could, but it would be a bit nuts. Now, someone has suggested an interesting combo here. The Stronghold says, imagine the Battle Brew on a Frost Lord on Thundertusk Stonehorn. Let's have a look what the Battle Brew is. That's if you roll 6. So in any of your hero phases, you can declare that this model will drink either 1 or 2 swigs of Battle Brew. If he takes 1 swig, add 1 to all hit and wound rolls. Oh. If he takes 2 swigs, add 2 to all hit and wound rolls for the model. Yeah, so it's the model, so that includes his mount. But the hero suffers 1 mortal wound at the start of each of your future hero phases for the rest of the battle. Which, if he's on a big monster, isn't that big of a deal. If you wait till he's in combat and then you quaff the potion.
Yeah, but the hero's profile is linked to the monsters, isn't it?
Yes, so just losing 1 wound, if he starts off with a lot, like 12 or more wounds,
yeah,
it's not making that much of a difference, because the amount of extra damage you can be dishing out, adding 2 to all hit and wound rolls. Because if you imagine a monster, often they have quite a lot of attacks, but their to hit roll isn't that high, for example.
Yeah.
You could get some of these like to hitting on a 2+, some of them.
So they've got these command traits, haven't they, with each allegiance. So there's we've got the artifacts, but also these command traits on a D6. So it's not just making, you know how you have the natural ones to choose from, like making a unit, making their or pass bravery tests automatically, for example.
Yes.
Some cool ones here.
They're just mixing things up nicely, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because people complained the lack of magic spells and the lack of magic items and how the commanders only had limited things they could do. But this book definitely opens up an entirely new horizon, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just looking at this one, command trait called Might is Right. Add 1 to the wound rolls made for the general's melee weapon, including their mounts, if they have one. That's pretty awesome.
Indeed. And of course, I'm gravitating towards the Order section with my fondness for the Dwarden and the Stormcast.
Right.
And for this command traits table, then there's things such as gain an extra wound. Yeah, I think I already talked about those.
Do you think they should have done these command traits per faction? Not per faction, but per one for the orcs, one for the ogres, different ones.
Well, if you open you've got the Bone Splitters book there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you see what they've got in there?
Oh, wow. What are you saying? They've got them in here as well. Now, I started reading this afternoon. This, again, was... how much was this? It wasn't much.
Now, is that a rigid hardback you've got there?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I think it was about 16 quid, I think this cost. It's really, really nice and hard and shiny, and I'm feeling the front, giving it a bit of a sniff as well.
Insight into Mr. Remington's personal life here.
So I've got a big nose. I may as well use it. It's definitely not as nice smelling as the General's Handbook. Let's have a look. So what am I looking for?
Well, you're looking for any kind of extra spells. I know there's extra spells in there.
I'm looking at this Law of the Savage War.
Yeah, there you go. So you've got that, and then any artifacts or command traits in there.
Let's have a look. Yeah, they've got the... Yeah, they have actually. They've got new command traits, and they're all based on sort of killing monsters All friendly bone splitter units add 1 to their charge roll. Instead of rolling on a monster, your general can always choose. Okay, this is cool. I'm going to have to digest all this and get back to you.
Well, while you're digesting that for a second, I'll just have a look at the comments. And Dreddy has put the quote of this episode out there, and this is from you a minute ago. It's really nice and hard and shiny, and I am feeling the front now.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, that is your quote of the night so far. Let's have a look. Rob Lloyd Sweet is talking about lovely cups of tea, which is totally on topic. Let's see what else we've got in here. Drunken Deer is talking about the Forge World Handbook PDF. Now, we're going to get to that because there's one particular detail that we're maybe not pleased with that we may have an hour-long rant/discussion about at some point, but not just yet. So prepare yourselves for that one because it's going to get dicey. Yeah, everyone else is agreeing that was definitely the quote of the night so far. Dino Titan Edition. I feel that will lead quickly back to the old way of army books, and I actually like the simplicity of the magic at the moment. There is definitely a case to be made for the magic being simple, but I think the amount of spells available right now is slightly too small.
Yeah, I think Games Workshop moves very fast, doesn't it? I always feel like I'm many steps behind what they're doing before I've digested stuff. They're always, on the next thing. So, yeah, well, it's going to happen, innit? It can't just keep it that simple. The game can become stagnant like that.
Yeah, there were 2 spells plus whatever comes with the wizard. They were always going to add more in there at some point.
Yeah, it just makes it more fun, I think. I mean, I'm looking at this. These Savage Oryx Bone Splitters. They've got a D6 magical artifacts which you can give to a hero, but they've also got arcane treasures, which you can give any Bone Splitter wizard. And these look pretty cool as well.
Right,
yeah.
So if that's the way all the books are going now, then I'm looking forward very much to the Dwarden book when that comes out.
Yeah.
You would imagine that they'll have maybe not the same way that they used to have the runes, but maybe something similar. Not to the old extent where there were just pages upon pages of runes.
But we've already had a Seraphon book, haven't we? And we've already had,
Yes, those previous books have missed out on a few things, but they did get all the abilities that apply to their Grand Alliance within this book, of course, within the General's Handbook.
Do they also get treasures and magical artifacts in them?
Well, not that I'm aware of.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm looking at this.
It's entirely possible they could come out with expansions for them later on.
I mean, this is a pretty cool one here. They've got the Lucky Bone, which is a Bone Splitter hero magical artifact. You can re-roll any run rolls, hit rolls, wound rolls, save rolls, and damage rolls of 1. That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And when you think about all these things combined, and you look at some of the other abilities, like, for example, the Destruction Battle trait, which just as standard for having a Destruction army, then at the start of the hero phase, roll a dice for each unit that's within 6 inches of your general, or a hero, and they can move that many inches.
Right, wow.
So you're really getting in there, and then you're getting a lot of bonuses to fight when you do get there.
So let's say you've got 1,000-point battle on the horizon. You get 1,000 points worth of models. You've got general, maybe a couple of wizards in there. You've got maybe a behemoth, maybe a war machine. You've got some archer units. You've got some fighter units. You've got some cavalry units. There, you've done your 1,000 points. Now you've got to look at the battle traits, haven't you? See if that gives you any bonuses. Then you look at the command traits, magical artifacts, and magical weapons as well. So there's quite a lot to add-ons now, isn't there?
Yeah, there's not so much that it's difficult to keep track of, I think, though. For example, your battle trait is going to be the same. And then your command trait and your artifacts, there's only 6 of each. So you're going to learn them pretty fast. So you won't need to actually refer back to the book every single time, I imagine, after a few games. If you just make a little note, put a little token by them to remind yourself which one they have.
Yeah, if you're sticking with one army, yeah, I think pretty quickly you can get to know them. But every time we have a battle, we're having different armies, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got to keep it spicy for the battle reports. And it's usually you that has the bigger army variety, since you own about 10 of them.
Yeah, this is true.
So, speaking of one of your armies,
Yeah.
I'm going to pull the old screen share up again here.
All right.
Because there is a particular model that you purchased because you thought it was so amazing at Warhammer World. And then you got it painted up, and then they came out with rules for it. And it was terrible.
It was.
We are, of course, talking about the Squig Gobba, arguably the worst unit in Age of Sigmar. On average, it should be doing around, I think, didn't we work out it would do like 1.7 wounds per game?
It's really bad. You get 3 shots, which is a random.
You get D3 shots.
Oh, sorry. Is even worse then? D3 shots, and it's a random distance.
4d6. So on average, you're getting like what, 14 inches or something?
Okay. D3. So let's say you get average. You roll 2 shots, and it hits on a 5+. So then you'll be lucky to get one of them through. So then you get one through, and then I think it's like
I think it's 4+ to wound. So you're only going to get that half the time.
And it's not mortal wound, is it?
No. And I don't think it has any rend.
So it's basically, it's as if you've got 3, it's worse than 3 Savage Auric archers. In fact, it's worse than 2 Savage Auric archers because
on average per game, I would expect a goblin to do more wounds than this, probably.
It's depressing because it's a beautiful model, isn't it? It's a really cool figure. It's very imaginative, and it's also very expensive to buy, isn't it?
Well, we were holding out hope that maybe when the point value for it was revealed, it would actually be maybe 5 points, which would be a fair amount, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So let's have a look what they did. As you can see, there are all these big, huge monsters rocking in at like over 300 points. And then you get down towards, there's the Squig Gobba, 60 points. Not only is that probably at least 55 points too many, it also takes up an artillery slot.
It's depressing.
You have to try so hard to make something so bad.
I mean, even the guy at Warhammer World that I was complaining about it to, he said, well, yeah, you use it as a stone thrower instead.
Yeah, it was funny actually gauging the reaction of the Warhammer World staff when we were talking to them about it, because obviously they can't speak vocal about it. They can't just completely slam it in front of the customers because no one would buy it. But one of the staff was a bit more open about it and was kind of giving us a knowing look. Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. One of the other staff members was he was really hesitant to talk about it. Like, he knows it's terrible, but he doesn't want that to be the topic of discussion right there in the middle of the shop.
Now, in preparation for the show, Andy, I typed in Squig Gobba, and as I was typing it in, Google predicts what you want to say sometimes, and it came up Squig Gobba tactics. So of course I clicked on this thing, right, and it's it's like a Wikipedia page almost, and they've gone through every unit in Warhammer, and they've got the Forge World ones here. So let me read this out to you. This is what Age of Sigmar Tactics Online says. The Squig Gobba, a war machine without being a war machine. It can move, but it can't charge or pile in. And it needs to sit still in order to fire. It's variable range squigs. At the very least, it can trip up people expecting to kill it with anti-war machine weaponry. So if you've got some what's it called when you just put units in and you don't care if they die?
Chaff?
Yeah. So it's like an anti-chaff machine.
Why would you want to chaff this up, though? You just let it shoot.
It says it's still pretty weak, with only the goblins protecting it with sticks, which I think is like a 5 up and a 5 up to wound. Frankly, this thing is shit. Entertaining shit, but shit. D3 shots that hit on 5+ and have to deal with variable range. And it just says full stop, skip, full stop. So every other thing they've written about on this, it's got a lot of positives, but this is the only model which just says it's shit.
It is absolutely horrendous. It'd be so easy to salvage, though, just with a couple of small changes. Even if you gave it a bigger range, so you could actually guarantee it would be able to fire for the whole game, would drive that average number of wounds it's going to do up a little bit. But it wouldn't be that big of an improvement, but it would help.
I mean, the only tactic it says is don't move it and just shoot stuff that's sort of trying to get your...
Well, it seemed like it said tactics, shoot with it, but don't take it. I'm not sure that counts as a tactic. Dreddy says that these unbelievable Squig Gobba tactics will shock you. Yes, if there was ever clickbait, it would be that. It would be like, I fired my Squig Gobba. You won't believe what happened next. And then you have to click through a slideshow of 18 pages to get to the end to find out it did no wounds.
I've just looked at points value. So you say 60 points. Well, for 60 points, I can get 5 War Dancers.
I would say 5 War Dancers would have a far greater damage output than a Squig Gobba, and more mobility.
Yeah, there's not many things going. There's a flipping it. There's not many things that are that cheap, man.
Right, I'm going to dive in there as well and have a look.
Oh,
see what we can get for 60 points.
Get a Great Eagle for 60 points.
Yeah, you can. You can get quite a lot of things for 80 points.
Yep. We can get Skink Chief for 60 points, which I imagine he's much better.
Yeah, I imagine a skink. Definitely better than this. When you look at some of the things rocking in at 80 points, Wulfric the Wanderer.
Wow. He's not bad.
He's not bad at all.
Yeah. 60 points. There's a Gorger. You can get a Gorger for 60 points.
It's just depressing looking at these things.
And you can
They're much better value.
You can also get 5 Cave Squigs. 60 points. Yeah, well, in celebration of the Squig Gobba, is it time for our...
Yes, it is, because somebody has to celebrate this model, because Games Workshop and Forge World are not. So I think we're going to have to pick up the baton for them with everyone's favourite segment of the show.
YouTube Newbie says, I found my girlfriend with a Squig Gobba. What happens next will amaze you. Okay.
Newbie has a girlfriend. That certainly is clickbait material there.
All right. Are we ready? I'm just preparing it. Oh, it's deliciously hard this week. Deliciously hard. Get ready.
I beg your pardon. You've outdone yourself there, Mr. Remington, with your quote of the day, I think.
It's deliciously hard, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready for the 26th of July's What the Hell is That? Bam!
Right, while people are digesting, first of all, I'll point out exactly what's going on here. There are various miniatures positioned, either being spat out or sitting around the Squig Gobba, and you have to identify each of them. How many are there, Mr. Rem?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not including the Gobba. There's
no,
8.
Not including the Gobba. There's 8 miniatures, apparently. So whoever can get the most of them is going to be the winner. So while you're all digesting that, I think it's time for the What the Hell is That theme song.
Here we go.
This is going to be fun with his microphone set up at the moment.
What the hell is that? 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 Only Andy and Remington know.
Well, I think you need more verses for that song. I don't think it's quite long enough to give people a chance to actually figure these things out. Because I think this one is going to trip people up, definitely.
I can look. There's some easy peasy ones in there, isn't there?
There are.
There's one that's two that I think 3 that are going to be tricky.
There are definitely a few that have caught me out so far. I can pick out at least a couple of them right now.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to get all these. I really don't. So what we'll do, we'll go for the highest right guesses.
Yes. So at the moment, we've had a couple of guesses. Not including the Squig Gobba, remember.
Mm-hmm.
So Jamie Bates says Banshee. Martin Johnston says Grimgor Ironhide and Tomb Banshee.
Well, the way it works, guys, is you have to guess 8 things because there's did I say 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 8 miniatures in there. You have to guess more than 2. Come on.
Come on, guys. Who's going to be the first to guess 8?
What about you, Andy? Just in your head, how many can you get?
Well, a lot of them are debatable in my mind. There's probably 2 that are very, very clear. Dreddy says 8 Space Marines.
That's not too far off.
It's not too far off in that they are models produced by Games Workshop. Oh, here we go. We've got a guess from the Stronghold. This looks like 8. So, are you paying attention, Mr. Remington?
Yep, go on.
War Doc, Auric Shaman, Squig Gobba, of course, Tomb Banshee, Ogre, Thundertusk / Stonehorn Rider, and Drunken Dwarf.
4 points.
Ooh, that's quite good. Newbie says Night Goblin Boss with a tiny squig, a Banshee, Night Goblin Archer body, Orc Arrow Boy head, normal Orc head, the head off a giant, a dwarf head, something off Old Wurzag.
1 point.
Ooh, not good enough, noobster.
Now it's time for a little bit of a clue for you. There's one tail off a creature coming out his mouth, and there's one flail coming out of his mouth.
So there is. I think I may have figured out where the flail is from. I'm not sure of the tail. It could be a few different things. That is an interesting one. Right. While people are working out their last batch of guesses, I think we need to hear the song again.
Okay.
What the hell is that? 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 Only Andy and Remington know. Can you see it now? 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 Does it look like a squib? Like cow?
Okay. I think you may have stumped people this week, Mr. Rem. Oh, we have got a guess here, though, from Oscar Dahlstrom.
All right, you've got to beat 4.
Okay.
Oscar.
Here are the guesses. Wardock, Ogrehead, Savage Auric Boss, Dracoth, Bloodstoker, Auric Shaman, Tomb Banshee, and a dwarf of some kind.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Ooh. That is very good. I think we're going to have to give it to Oscar Dahlstrom, are we? Oh, we've got another guess here.
Yeah.
Let's see if the ladies' man Ra can get it, and we'll make that the last one.
If you just say a dwarf head or an ogre head, it's not really...
Yeah, that's not really good enough, I'm afraid. Here we go. Tomb Banshee, Wardock, Savage Big Boss, Auric Great Shaman, Ogre on Stonehorn, Bloodstoker, Dwarf, Demon Tail.
6 points.
Right, let's allow this final one from James McPherson then. Night Goblin Boss from Battle of Skull Pass, Banshee, Orc Shaman, Bloodstoker, Dracoth Tail, Savage Orc Head, Ogre Stonehorn Rider Head.
5 points.
Right, are we going to give the victory to Oscar Dahlstrom then?
Yes, Oscar's done it. Well done, Oscar.
Right, do you want to reveal?
I will do a quick reveal for you all.
Remington is always eager to reveal himself.
Here you go. When it just decides to open up, there you go. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Well, it was a cannon crew. That's the Dwarden head from that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone got that.
Indeed, it was a Banshee. Yes, a Savage or Big Boss. A Wardak, which is kind of a new Savage Orc Shaman on the right, top right. You've got a Dracoff, and that's its tail. Of course, the Cannon Crew. Bottom left, you've got a Orc Shaman. And at the bottom, there's a Bloodstoker Flail. And on the bottom right, indeed, it was a Stonehorn Ogre Rider or Hunter. So there you go.
Right then, so the Balsa Wood membership this week goes to Oscar Dahlstrom, which is, of course, highly sought after. I should have got the tail, really, considering I've got this guy sitting right in front of me. Do you know what else I've got sitting right in front of me as well? Two things, actually. First of all, 2 more of these bad boys.
Oh, so they're the guys that I always kill before they get into combat.
You absolutely massacre them because there's only 3 of them in the unit. But the minimum is 5 now, so I'm going to get 2 more of them painted up, so they'll be perfectly legal. And also, a little sneak preview for everybody. It is the cousin of Cecil the Magical Unicorn.
Hey, where'd you get that from?
This is Reaper Bones Unicorn.
That's kind of cool, isn't it? Now, I sent off the prize winners' prizes from last month. I sent them off today. One of them went all the way to Australia. It cost £5 in postage, by the way. Right? Another one went to Germany. What did I send to Australia? Actually, it was the Beastman Wizard. That's kind of like a bit like a spawn attached to a tree. Can't remember his name. Big chunk of metal, put it that way.
There were some high quality prizes and the trophy as well, which has also gone out, which the winner hasn't posed with yet.
Yeah. And Mickey Genver got sent the unicorn, the original Games Workshop unicorn.
Cecil's twin.
What's Cecil's twin's name? Celise. Cecile.
Cecile.
Please come back where you belong.
Now, we have got another topic to touch on this week, because White Dwarf, of course, is going back to a monthly magazine, and I was reading up on some rumours about it. First of all, the releases that GW put out are not going to be affected by the monthly nature of White Dwarf at all. They're still going to be releasing models every week, not every month. And White Dwarf will be kind of looking back on the previous month of releases. And apparently, if rumours are to be believed, if the man on the street is accurate and his grapevine isn't telling us lies, then it's going to become more of a hobby magazine rather than just advertising whatever's come out that week, which I think would be an excellent move, because we don't need to buy a White Dwarf to see what is already on the shelf, do we? And essentially that's all it was doing. Look at these awesome things that came out. You should buy them now. We need something that we can sink our wargaming and hobby teeth into, really. If we're going to be encouraged to part with our cash, it needs to be like the old White Dwarf, doesn't it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm thinking of really, really old White Dwarf where they had a page, and just like my reveal picture there, they had all the new releases like that with a little bit of a price on them. So just in one page, you can show the new releases like that. And yeah, it'd be cool to see more articles about how to do stuff and scenarios.
Battle reports, painting. I would like to see a reader submitted scenario section, because I would certainly be submitting all of my silly scenarios for that.
Yeah, that's cool. If they just had like a reader's scenario that they got sent in, that'd be pretty cool.
It would be dominated by me, though, because I'd be sending in about 5 every week.
Will it be thicker then, if it's only coming out every month?
If you only get it every month, does that make it thicker?
And will it be
a question.
Will it be more expensive?
Well, I'm sure it'll be more expensive. I'm sure it'll go back to the previous kind of price range. Maybe the Warhammer Visions kind of price. That was monthly, wasn't it? And wasn't that rocking in at about £7?
Yeah. I went to the game store today, which is called Tabletop Tyrant in Leicester, which is a pretty cool shop. And obviously I bought the General's Handbook, bought the Bone Splitters, and I was willing to part ways with some cash to get the Savage Orc Boar Boys, because now you get 10 in a box for £30, but actually it would have cost me £24. And they told me it's not out yet. They said it's not until next week. But they did have the basic Savage Orc box where you get 20. and you can make your Arab boys or your, it's a normal two-handed weapons one. I just wanted to clarify that. Is that true? Or was the guy just talking shite?
Well, audience.
I wanted it. I wanted it today.
If anyone knows the answer to the question Mr. Remington has posed there. Now, there is something else as well that popped up. GW's financial reports came out, and as you know, we're all about the numbers on this show. We always have our calculators at the ready. But the gist of it, without going into too much detail, is that sales of actual miniatures and the amount of profit generated by miniatures and wargaming products is slightly down, but the licensing from all the PC games and so on is way up.
That must be huge. But there's so many models they've brought out in the last year. Why wouldn't that have gone up?
I don't know. Maybe they're either not selling as well as they hoped, or maybe there is some reason that their cost has gone up somewhat.
But of course, that would have been published in April, right? No?
I don't know.
Well, done until the tax year ending April. So they wouldn't have counted quite a lot of stuff that's just recently come out, right? Like I know they sold. Apparently, they sold out of the Sylvaneth stuff at one point.
Well, Dwardin do nothing. That is quite a cool name. Says marginal decline. So yes, a marginal decline on the sale of their miniatures.
Marginal decline from what? From last year?
I would imagine. Or it's slowly slipping down.
That doesn't.
The amount of miniatures that they're selling.
Maybe it's gone down for 40k then.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably across the board. You couldn't just blame Age of Sigmar, since Fantasy wasn't exactly doing huge sales.
No.
The Stronghold says 40k isn't doing as well. Well, maybe it's time for 40k to get the Age of Sigmar treatment.
Yeah. Maybe we can take a back seat for once, you know?
And then maybe the ozone layer will be permanently penetrated with all those toxic fumes of the burnt Space Marine armies drifting up towards the atmosphere. Let's see. Anyone else has got a comment on this? Oh, yes. There's a very important point here from Darkbeard89. The real question is, why isn't it called White Dwarden, the magazine?
That's a fair point. Now, you know, every week I like to have, $1 million ideas. You know what I mean? Whether it's an idea for a new model or a new behemoth or, financial stuff. I've just had another brainwave, Andy. Don't shake your head, right? This one's wicked. Just thinking, right, what about orcs, savage orcs, right? You get a dual kit and it's like an orc body, but you can make it either 40k or you can make it Age of Sigmar. You choose, right? So it would mean Games Workshop don't have to produce two types of orcs, one being space and one being fantasy. They just produce one and sell it across both ranges, both play styles.
Well, they do all that already with the demons, don't they, of course?
Sure.
And you could argue that some of the miniatures that have been released for Age of Sigmar would be compatible with 40k. A lot of the chaos stuff, the Khorne kind of warriors, would easily pass as Khorne berserkers in 40k. So it's not a totally crazy idea.
Okay, so
some of the new orcs wouldn't take much converting to look 40k-ish, would they?
No, you just different head swaps and different weapon swaps. There you go. Right?
Barrett Musselman says 40k has taken a back seat.
Yeah,
so maybe that's why the sales are down, because they're not just pushing new Space Marines at us every month.
Yep.
Maybe that's what we need in our lives. Do you feel like you're missing a new Space Marine Codex every 6 months?
No. Some part of me thinks that Games Workshop themselves are more keen on Age of Sigmar than the 40k. My only thing is, why Forge World don't make more fantasy stuff?
Maybe Games Workshop have grown complacent with 40k because they just expect it to be a constant success. They've not been focusing much attention on it, like replacing the Space Marine with the Sigmarite statue.
Yeah, and they had the storyline to end all storylines with Horus Heresy and all that, So, Yeah, I think their hearts are in Age of Sigmar and where that can go.
Yeah, they've been focusing a lot on Age of Sigmar and the smaller releases, like the little board games they've been doing.
Yeah, on that note, that Gore Chosen game looks great. I can't wait to get my hands on that. I think it's going to retail at about £32, and it's a game lasts up to an hour, so it's a real great thing to do. It's, for me, my club, I can just whip that out, and you get 4 corn champions, don't you? Which is a big saving.
Didn't you get into some kind of trouble with the law last time you whipped it out at the club? Anyway, well, Dreddy says we need a new Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Do we really? Come on. It's so boring.
Yeah, I have grown very tired of Space Marines over the years, even though I do have a Dark Angels army. I've got kind of bored of them as well, actually. But I don't want to get rid of them because I always regret every time I sell an army. I've never sold an army and then thought years later, I'm really glad I got rid of that. I really put those few pounds that you actually get for painted models to good use. This never seems to be worth it in the end. Paul Conti says overall their profits are up 10%, which is huge.
Nice.
Yes, but that's all from the licensing, of course, which is obviously part of their business, so you can't just discount it. But the core of the business is always miniatures, and that part of it is down slightly.
Nice, man.
So will they, because they've been kind of pulling out all the stops in some ways with all the smaller releases, the board games, and going nuts releasing new things every week. So you would think that would be up. So what can they possibly do next? Other than the specialist games, I think are definitely going to generate a decent amount of revenue. Because people really love like your Blood Bowl and your Epic, Necromunda, and so on. So I think that's going to be quite a money spinner for them when all that comes to fruition. Because at the moment they're still in the design phase, I think, on most of those games.
Speaking of designing games, Andy, how is your cheeks going?
My cheeks are wonderful. Well, of course, the German version of Cheeks successfully funded as well. So it's like it's successfully funded twice. So 2 different language versions are going to be out there. And at the moment, I'm putting the finishing touches on all the rules. So then we can start looking at putting together everything for the printing. Some of the new artwork popped up as well, which is available to look at on the Cheeks Facebook page. If you just put in Cheeks on Facebook, You'll find it quite easily. And also, I've started working on a potential project to come next after Cheeks.
Now, this is, I hope you're taking special close advice from the consigliere here, Remington Steele, when it comes to designing new stuff. It's literally a goldmine of ideas sitting right opposite you. Well, and I'm waiting for the call.
Well, as you know, both of us will appear in Cheeks. So I hope you're looking forward to seeing the artist's rendition of yourself in hamster form.
I can't wait. So I'm thinking for your next project, Andy, couldn't it be something fantasy-based?
Well, it's kind of funny you should say that, because something else I'm working on at the same time does kind of have a fantasy theme running through it. And that's nice. I can't say too much more about that at the moment because it's all in the very early stages. Well, and knowing the level of intelligence in our audience, they're taking careful note of everything I say regarding game design, and they're ready to steal all my ideas at the drop of a hat.
Well, I don't mind sharing my ideas because they come every few seconds, and I've got one just come to me now. What about this for a Warhammer-based board game? Pirates of Saragossa. How about that? It's like an undead pirate game. Yeah.
Okay, we need more information, I think.
You can have like Orc pirates, you can have like Sigmarite pirates, Dark Elf pirates, and of course the undead pirates, and they're all got to get to the gold treasure island in the middle. And it's like a race there, but you can kind of blockade each other.
So are they all on boats or what?
Yep, they can be, yeah. Or it could be like a treasure island vibe, where you're set on an island, you see. and you've got to go through jungles, and there's like pygmies and Seraphon in there.
How did I know it was going to come back to pygmies?
Yeah, someone said Dreadfleet, but yeah, not Dreadfleet. This is bigger than Dreadfleet because you actually have models of, you have like actually Oryx on the boats, or you have a small squad of them. But that be great. You could have like a peg leg space marine.
Oh god! So like a pirate version of Mordheim, kind of.
Yeah, and you can have like the prosecutor ones, but they might have had their wings clipped.
Or maybe the prosecutor just sits on a giant's shoulder like a parrot.
I love it. I've been watching all the Pirates of the Caribbean things. It's like wicked, man.
So when you say you have wonderful ideas, what you really mean is you watch things and then you kind of regurgitate them.
Yeah, well, that's how everyone has ideas, aren't they? But Pirates of Saragossa, love it.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. If anyone does that, you're going to owe Mr. Remington some serious royalties, but I wouldn't hold your breath on that.
Hey, listen, Dark Ops, wonderful terrain making company, they've been putting out some awesome boats, and they put out like a Viking one, and recently they've put out a big galleon.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah, so it's not like Dreadfleet, because like the ships in Dreadfleet were about that big, weren't they? These would be like massive. They'd be off on a big gaming board, and like if you had the sea battle one, you'd have big galleons. Be wicked.
Yeah, there is potential for a miniatures game with two ships that line up next to each other, and you can board each other's ship. You drop the planks down, move the miniatures over, steal everything, get back to your own ship.
You got shots as well. The one thing I would say is that I'm not going to have any chaos in it. I'm sick and tired of chaos. In fact, there's going to be no Sigmarites in it. They can get lost as well. There's just going to be Oryx, undead pirates, and elves.
What about Dwarden pirates? They've already got the beards.
Maybe in the extension. Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah, I like that. They could have that. And you could have sea monsters, like you could have the Kraken in there. You could have the Moor Beast. Be cool. See, Games Workshop, bling. Giving you mad ideas there.
What about the Squig Gobba?
The Squig Gobba, that could be guarding the treasure.
You put that on your ship. You could get really close, but when you're in a boarding party, and the Squig Gobba's like firing over your head, but then it only manages to fire 4 inches because it just rolls 4 ones and hits you in the back of the head as you're trying to board.
It'd be great, like the ogre one. You could have like ogre pirates. You could have like lookout noblars, can't you? At the top, and then you could have like mad savage Oryx that like swing onto the other ships, and they're just like Doom Diver kind of style. It'd be wicked.
Well, I think there's potential there.
You know it, Andy. I can see your eyes lit.
I think it needs a bit of fine-tuning. When it comes in raw Remington form, then there is work to be done, definitely. But it's got potential. It's not your worst idea. It's not as crazy as that, what was it, Morris dancing Beastmen idea you had that one time.
What, where they just dance around the thingy?
The herdstone.
The herdstone, yeah. That was quite a good tactic, I thought. Yeah.
Yes, let's call it that.
I love it. Pirates of Saragossa. Or Sarcossa. I can't remember what that word is, but it was like a Warhammer part of the world with loads of pirates and that. Sartosa. I can't remember.
Well, people in the comments seem to be in agreement that they want to see more pirate-based games out there. So there you go.
Well, there is the famous pirate memory game, isn't there?
Yes, there is. A little less piratey, maybe. So, I think we've pretty much run the well dry this week. However, next week, there's going to be some very exciting goings on because we're going to be getting another battle report in there. Yeah. And I'm thinking, are you going to have enough bone splitters to have a nice bone splitters battle report?
I can, now that the Savage Oryx have 2 wounds. Definitely, man. Yeah.
And we can actually use points as well.
Yep. How many points do you think we should have, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, how many points? And I'm thinking maybe Bone Splitters versus Dwarden. What do you think?
Yeah.
People, if you've got any feedback on that, let us know quick.
Yeah.
You might want to leave the feedback for that in the permanent comments after the show, because obviously once it ends, the chat will disappear into the ether forever.
We've probably got enough for 2,000 points, haven't we? But it probably might not just be bone splitters. I might have to put a Mangler Squig in there.
2,000 is an awful lot of points, though, for Age of Sigmar.
Maybe 1,000 then. We'll see.
Because if you think about it, a unit of, well, the standard, your 5 Liberators for Stormcast, that's 100 points, isn't it?
Right.
So that is a lot. That's like 20 units of Liberators.
You need more Liberators, don't you?
Points.
You really need more than 5 because they just they get trashed by me every time.
I'm partway through painting up another 5 when I get finished with Mr. Hammerhand and Cecil's cousin over here.
The thing is with the Bone Splitters, they're very monster driven, and your Dwarf don't have any monsters. It will kind of suck.
Well, we could say that Mr. Alric Big Butts is a monster because of the size of his cheeks. That puts him into the behemoth category.
I don't know about that. You don't. In fact, you don't have any monsters, do you? You've got that big Titan thing, haven't you? Big gold statue. That's about it.
I've got undead monsters.
Okay.
Vargulf.
Right. Well, let's get your undead out then.
So you want me to pick an army purely because your rules will benefit that particular matchup?
Yeah. Well, just for investigation's sake, the people demand it, Andy.
Well, if people demand undead, then let us know, and it shall be undead instead.
I mean, does your what's your big thing called? That big thing it floats around and it's got like a pulse and it pulsates the engine.
The Mortis engine.
Yeah. Is that count as a monster?
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Oh, what does it count as then?
Well, why don't I look in the book right now?
We'll look in the book, because I would argue it's a behemoth.
Got it right here.
Big
Let's
enough.
see what the Mortis engine counts as our final act of the show tonight.
Hey, there's one more thing we haven't done as well.
Oh yeah, there is another thing actually that
There
Mr.
is.
Remington won't let us forget.
Yes, there's nerd confession, everyone. Nerd confession.
Yeah, if anyone wants to throw in a nerd confession now while I'm looking this up.
What's your nerd confession, baby? I'd really like to know. What's your nerd confession, baby, on the Andy and Remington show? What's your nerd confession now? I don't think it's very cool. What's your nerd confession now? You gotta take me back to school. What's your nerd confession? Come on, let's hear your nerd confessions. What's yours, Andy? Have you got any?
Well, first of all, the Mortis engine, here we go.
Oh.
Well, it's 180 points and it's a behemoth, it's not a monster.
It's not a monster, great.
It's not a monster because in the War Scroll it doesn't mention monster at all.
No.
So,
Well, it used to be like a chariot, didn't it? It's not anymore. Don't have chariots now. YouTube newbie, so I won't repeat that what he just said.
yeah,
Graham Rigg.
probably shouldn't.
Graham Rigg says, I'm learning to make cosplay armor. I presume that's cool. I'd love to do cosplay. It'd be wicked.
What would you dress up as?
I would dress up as a kind of I would dress up as Sinbad, like a Sartosa kind of Arabic kind of, cool guy with a little turban with a gem in the middle and a big like curved scimitar.
I could see that. I think if I was going to dress up as anything with my physique, it would probably have to be like Conan the Barbarian.
No, you got to be the witch hunter, the witch finder. That'd be brilliant.
I don't know.
Get yourself a tall hat, a big flasher's mac, and like a fencing blade.
I've got a nerd confession.
Go on.
It's not really wargaming related or anything, but I was very excited for the return of Robot Wars to TV.
That's bizarre. I watched that last night. I was up about 2 a.m. just lying on the couch, just watching crap, and I got really into it.
I used to watch it back in the day, and then they turned it into Robot Wars Extreme, which was a bit more random and weird, and I didn't like it so much anymore.
Did you watch the one that had a robot called Behemoth in it?
Yes.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yep. In case anyone hasn't seen it, I'm not going to spoil the result of the first episode, but I would recommend everyone check out Robot Wars. They've expanded it a little bit. It's a kind of different style now. It's a bit more modernized, and it's got more kind of in-your-face, more backstage stuff going on.
It's pretty cool, man. They had one of the robots was just really flat, wasn't it? And it just had this spinning blade on the front. It was kind of cool. And another one had like a big axe that gets like compressed gas goes, and the axe like goes down on it. It was almost like the old Chaos Dwarf war machines. Do you remember them? They're like
Yes, and what my fear was, well, not really a fear. My thoughts were that the new series of Robot Wars technology's come on so far that everything's just going to be too good, and there aren't going to be any funny, terrible ones. But that fear was kind of put to rest immediately, because in the first episode, there's at least one kind of comedy robot that's just really awful, which you need.
Did you see the one? Was it the Nuts team? It had like this kind of cylinder thing, and it had, it's really Warhammer based. I think it's really Warhammer War Machines, because this thing had this ball, and it had two chains attached to the side with like. It was like a flail on the side, and the ball spins round, and the chains spin round. It was actually it was pretty hard to take down, wasn't it? It was quite effective, but
it was pretty terrible. Newbie was asking what channel it's on. I think it was on BBC Two.
They got the house robots still, haven't they? They're. I'd love to see them get battered.
They have been battered once or twice over the years.
They're massive, though, aren't they? The actual robots, when you see them.
They are. They've been flipped over a few times over the years.
Yeah.
Also, I owned both of the Robot Wars PC games as well.
Okay.
I think I still have them. They were actually very good.
Wow.
A lot of fun. I'd like to see a new one with the modern gaming technology.
So if you had to design your own robot from Robot Wars based on a Warhammer model, what would it be?
Based on a Warhammer model?
Yeah.
Well, there have been a few that look like the old Nagash. That's an interesting one. You'd probably have to go with something like a Snotling pump wagon, wouldn't you?
What would you use for Snotlings, though? Like live rats or live...
I don't think you're allowed to use live rats, unfortunately.
So you need pygmies.
You could definitely put pygmies on it and call it the pygmy wagon. Oscar Dahlstrom, are the house robots still there? Yes, they are. Although I think they might have got rid of Sergeant Bash, actually, which was the one with the flamethrower.
Yeah, they've got Kill-A-Lot and Matilda.
They've got all the others, I think.
What's my nerd confession? My nerd confession is, so how you got like dry brushing paintbrushes, which I have a couple.
Like this one here, this dry brushing terrain brush.
Yeah, yours is in much better condition than mine. Mine always get shagged up real quick. So.
Well, I've got some really mangled ones as well. That's not the first dry brush I've had.
My confession is I tend to just whatever paintbrush I'm using, so it could be like a layer brush or a fine one. They're the only two I use really. I just end up using that as the dry brush, and it kind of makes my brushes all knackered. But there you go. It's my nerd confession.
Yeah, many a brush has been ruined with dry brushing over the years. Although the specially designed army painter dry brushes I've found very good.
They're too big though for models.
This is a terrain one. I've got a smaller one here as well.
All right.
This one here is just for regular stuff. That's much smaller.
It's immaculate. I mean, look at mine. This is the state of mine.
Well, this one isn't really immaculate. If I turn it that way, you can see it's starting to splay out a little bit. This is the second one I've had. I had another one that got completely ruined as well.
You know they're very easy to make, don't you? You just get like a regular brush like that, and you just get a pair of scissors and snip the end off.
Well, they are made from slightly stiffer bristles, I'm led to believe, so they last longer for dry brushing. But one of them actually ruined because I used a type of paint that really, really clogged it up, which is actually this ancient Humbrol Super Hobby paint. I was using it for like basing, but it's really, really crusty and old, and it really caked up my old dry brush.
Do you prefer stiff bristles or soft bristles?
It depends what the application is, I think. If it's for dry brushing, then it's got to be stiff all the way, hasn't it? And if you need more of a soft touch for your other painting techniques, that's what you're going to have to go with. Like, for example, got some very, very nice soft brushes here. Like, for example, the Citadel Fine Detail brush. This is actually a little bit more rigid than some of your other brushes because you need to keep it quite rigid because there aren't that many bristles in there.
Now, mine always split down the middle. It's really annoying. Do you know what I mean? Where they kind of the paintbrush tip splits like that.
Do you know how you can stop that?
I'd put it in my mouth and swiggle it around a bit.
Another quote of the night there for Mr. Remington. But You know what you can do to stop the brush splitting off like that? You can use brush cleaning products, because they do that when there's paint stuck in the end.
Yeah.
So if you use a brush cleaning product, it comes in a little tub usually, and you just kind of rub it through it a bit.
Is there one called Burt's Bees?
I have no idea.
No, someone said get some Burt's Bees. Burt's Bees.
Well, maybe you should. We've actually got a nerd confession in the comments here.
Cool.
From Retropia TV. Now, I'm going to read this out without screening it first, so it could be highly inappropriate. Let's see. I have random glasses and containers around my bathroom, not sure where this is going, and kitchen with miniatures soaking for stripping. Some of the models have been in there for a few weeks to months at a time. That's quite a nerd confession if his house is just full of like specimen jars with miniatures half paint stripped in there, half of it kind of, it's like the last paint chips that are like dangling off a miniature's face, and it's only going to come off with a good solid scrubbing.
The Ogre Stronghold says, for Robot Wars ideas, you could have a Blood Bowl Death Roller. Could be cool. Have they ever seen a steamroller robot?
There have been robots along those lines, but I don't think they've ever been successful.
Yeah.
I remember someone tried to make a robot that actually walked instead of wheels or tracks, and it was absolutely awful.
I've seen one that's almost like a big stabber, and it just like pokes out like a sharp pole thing.
There've been a few like that. Most of the weapons they use are horribly ineffective over the years, traditionally. Yeah. Usually axes never seem to do anything. What
about a freezer? Like it shoots cold air out and like freezes like the mechanisms of the robots.
That would probably help the other robots, actually. They probably have more trouble if they overheat.
Ah. Well, all right, then. It shoots ice out, and so the other things slip over and fall into the pit.
Only if, when you're using the ice weapon, you reel off a load of the Mr. Freeze puns. Like, I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy.
All right, I've got the best one, right? It's like a robot that's just based on avoidance tactics, but it's just a ball, and it just rolls around really fast. And it's like catch 'em if you can.
Like a hamster ball.
Yeah. That'd be awesome, right? You just lead people into their doom. Like,
well, the problem is they wouldn't really follow you. And then you'd lose because you lack control, and that's one of the judging criteria.
Okay, yeah, but if the ball touches a robot, it sends like an electric shock and like electrocutes the other ones.
I think we're moving into the realm of fantasy here. Do you have any kind of engineering or robotics qualifications?
I did A-level sculpture, A-level metal sculpture.
I did a
bit of welding.
I'm going to suggest that no is the answer to that.
I made a giant peacock out of metal. That was kind of cool.
I'm sure you did. Bazooka J. Rambo says a wedge with a flipper usually works in Robot Wars. Yes, that's kind of the standard design, isn't it?
Yeah, it's boring though, isn't it? Come on.
Everyone likes to see the weapons that do damage, but they're not usually that successful.
What about one that shoots acid?
I don't think that would be allowed. I think that would be too dangerous to have around the maintenance area with the other teams coming to have a look. You get the other driver, hey, come and have a look at our robot. Get right down there, look at the gun. Right in the face.
Yeah. I've got a lot of ideas, man. It's just how to implement them. Like a robot with a force field on it.
Yeah, we've noticed you have a lot of ideas that are difficult to implement. It's kind of a running theme. I think the problem is your brain is existing in a separate plane to the rest of reality at times. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I've got another one. It's called Hedgehog. All right, and it's
Let me guess. It's covered in spikes.
Yeah, but it shoots them out.
Again, I'm not sure you're allowed projectile weaponry.
Oh, why not?
I think that would be dangerous.
Why? They're in a pit. It's just robot. Anyway, doesn't matter. I will save my ideas for my think tank. I won't be releasing them to all you losers. No way.
Yeah, if anyone wants to hire Mr. Remington as an ideas man, an all-round guru, of innovative thinking and outside the box thinking, then you know where he is. You know how to reach him.
Come on, you know Pirates of Sartossa is a winner.
Only if it fires spikes out of it. Okay, I think it's time to start wrapping this one up. So let's get the old logo out there. Of course, thanks to our wonderful audience for joining us. It's been a packed house for the entire show tonight. As usual, a few new faces in there and a few people who have actually joined us live for the first time because I think it's the summer holidays at the moment for quite a few people. So they were able to actually join us for once. Normally they have to watch it repeated. So I think Mr. Remington is tuning up his instrument. I'm going to remind everyone one final time that, of course, you should be liking the video and leaving a permanent comment when it's over and telling all your friends about the Andy and Rem show. And, of course, don't forget to check out all the Age of Sigmar battle reports found on this channel. And maybe if you've got a bit of extra time as well, you could even check out Mr. Remington's channel, if you've got time to kill.
Get lost. My channel is a bit light on videos, but it's not light of quality. And in fact, I've been thinking about doing a little video, and it's like just me chatting while I'm doing the ironing.
In case you didn't hear that, folks, because his audio is quite low because the microphone's sitting on his table at the moment, he's thinking about doing a video where he chats while doing the ironing. I can think of at least 2 people who would be thrilled with that. So I think it's time to say goodnight out there, whatever you are.
Good night.
Remington. You know it's Remington. He has the best ideas. $1 million ideas. Andy shuts Remington down. Andy, he's a true clown. Remington invented RemCon. Remington. Thank you. Good night.
Andy Palooza.